Pfizer, you've heard the name, right? Of course you have. It's a company that's probably in your medicine cabinet right now. We see them as lifesavers, as innovators. But what if I told you the story you think you know is really just the surface, that behind all those breakthroughs, there's a hidden playbook of power, conquest, and some serious controversy?
Today, we're going to peel back the layers on Pfizer. We're going to dig into the financials, the history, and the backroom deals to see what's really going on behind the scenes. So what is the real story behind one of the most powerful companies on the planet? Let's find out.
All right, so every good investigation has to start with the official story. Before we get to the hidden chapters, we need to understand the powerful, positive image Pfizer has spent over 175 years building for itself.
Their story really does start like something out of a history book. We're talking 1849, a little brick building in Brooklyn, a couple of cousins start a chemical company. But this was no ordinary shop. Fast forward to World War II, 1944, and they become the world's biggest producer of penicillin, the miracle drug. Then in 1997, they launched Lipitor, a cholesterol drug that becomes one of the best-selling medicines of all time. And of course, most recently, in 2020, they gave us the first widely authorized mRNA COVID-19 vaccine, a breakthrough that helped turn the tide of the pandemic.
Their official mission statement says it all: breakthroughs that change patients' lives. I mean, it's a noble goal, a powerful one, and if you just look at the surface, their history seems to back it up, 100%. But remember, in any investigation, the official story is just a beginning.
And their influence? It's literally everywhere. Viagra, Xanax, Advil, and yeah, the COVID vaccine. These are more than just products. They're household names that have shaped our lives. This is the Pfizer everyone knows and recognizes. But here's where that official story starts to feel a little incomplete.
Because here's the first hidden truth we need to talk about. Pfizer's massive empire wasn't just built inside a laboratory. A huge part of it was built through conquest. Not on a battlefield, but in the boardroom.
So that's the multi-billion-dollar question, isn't it? How does that actually happen? How do you go from a small chemical shop to a global titan raking in over $60 billion a year? Well, the answer isn't just about what they invent themselves. The answer, in a lot of cases, is that they just buy their breakthroughs. Let's look at the price tags on some of these conquests. In the year 2000, they dropped a staggering $116 billion to buy a Warner Lambert. Then, a few years later in 2009, they shelled out another $68 billion to take over their competitor, Wyatt. And back in 2003, another monster deal, $60 billion for Pharmacia. You see, these aren't just simple purchases, these are industry-shaking conquests that totally redrew the map of modern medicine. And when you lay it all out like this, the pattern becomes crystal clear. This isn't random spending, it's a surgical strategy to buy up innovation. That massive deal for Warner Lambert, that was all about getting their hands on the blockbuster cholesterol drug Lipitor. The Pharmacia deal, that was for Celebrex. Wyeth gave them the incredibly profitable Prevnar vaccine, and just last year they spent $43 billion on Seagen to get a leg up in cancer treatments. It reveals a huge part of their playbook. If you can't build the next big thing yourself, just go out and buy the company that already did. But this relentless drive for growth and market dominance has a much darker side. And this is where our investigation goes deep into a story that, frankly, Pfizer would probably rather you just forget. A story about the alleged human cost of their ambition.
Our investigation now takes us to Kano, Nigeria. In the year 1996, the city was in the middle of a devastating meningitis outbreak, one of the worst in history. It was a true humanitarian crisis.
Right in the middle of this chaos, Pfizer showed up. They were there to test an experimental antibiotic, a drug called trovafloxacin, on about 200 children. But very quickly, some extremely serious allegations started to surface. First, that researchers never got proper informed consent from the parents, many of whom thought their kids were getting the standard, effective treatment. And here's the crucial part. A proven, working treatment was being given out for free, right nearby, by Doctors Without Borders. The trial led to lawsuits from families and the Nigerian government, who claimed the experiment had tragic results for some of the children involved.
Now, the legal battle over this was fierce, and it dragged on for over a decade. Pfizer maintained they did nothing wrong, but then a secret was revealed that changed how everyone looked at this case.
This right here is a direct quote from a U.S. Embassy cable that got published by WikiLeaks. It said that Pfizer's own country manager admitted the company, quote, had hired investigators to uncover corruption links to the federal attorney general to expose him and put pressure on him to drop the federal cases. Just let that sink in for a second.
The allegation wasn't just that they were defending themselves in court, but that they were actively trying to dig up dirt to pressure a government official into making the whole thing just go away.
Okay, so that was the 90s, a different time, you might say. But has the fundamental playbook really changed? This strategy of using massive acquisitions to fuel growth and lock down market dominance? Well, it seems more alive than ever.
So what about today? Well, the numbers really tell the story. Pfizer is forecasting about $11 billion to spend on their own internal research and development for 2025. That's a huge sum of money. But now compare that to the price tag of just one recent conquest, $43 billion for the cancer drug maker Seagen. This shows you right there in black and white that the buy versus build strategy is still a central part of their financial DNA.
And listen, that 20% slice for R&D is absolutely vital for them. But it's just one piece of a much, much bigger pie. It's competing with enormous expenses for things like sales, marketing, and of course the costs that come with these gigantic acquisitions. The engine that runs Pfizer needs a lot more than just lab coats and test tubes to keep going.
So, where does this whole investigation leave us? We're left with two very different portraits of the exact same company. How do you possibly reconcile the life-saving innovator with the ruthless corporate machine?
First, let's be absolutely clear about one thing. We have to acknowledge the undeniable truth. From mass-producing the penicillin that helped the Allies in World War II to the COVID-19 vaccine that helped the world reopen, Pfizer's breakthroughs have changed billions of lives for the better. That is not up for debate. But that heroic story exists right alongside a corporate machine that was built on financial conquest, a history that's shadowed by allegations of ruthless tactics and a laser focus on the bottom line. So the real question isn't if they do good, it's about what's driving the engine. Is Pfizer a pure force for public health, or are they masters of a very, very high-stakes financial game? The evidence is in. Now it's up to you to decide.